Testing, testing. Okay. Yeah, so on the off chance that anybody actually finds this live, I'd be amazed, but it's possible. There's a few of you out there who might be subscribed to this channel. But now I just got bored. I got bored, didn't want to put anything on my main channel because it's not relevant to anything, and just decided to vent a little bit. I don't know, babble a little bit while I wait for some food to be delivered. I've used some of my copious amounts of vacation time, I don't know, to take a half day from my job and just sort of try to relax. The last couple of days have been, I tell you what, anxiety disorder is the absence of fun. I don't think it's a controversial statement to make that anxiety disorder is the absence of fun, but it has been. And I've been doing pretty good the last couple of years, really. The instances where my anxiety actually hits me now that I'm no longer taking medication, are actually few and far between. And the instances that cause it to boil up are at least in some way rationally understandable to get a little worked up over. Like the most recent incident was when I had water leaking into my apartment from the apartment above me, and then me being very, very high on alert for any further incursions into my apartment from, intruding water. That would probably set most people on edge as they're waiting for that to be resolved and not having it be resolved in a timely manner and waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's usually what sets me off, is something happens and then I'm just waiting for the next thing to drop. So that was about a month and a half ago now. And then with this deal with my main YouTube channel, a video from like 4 months ago or something suddenly got a bevy of claims and then a strike on it out of nowhere. And it just totally set me off. And in the last couple of days, I've just been like, my rational brain is like, dude, it's not the end of the world. It's just one video. And here's the thing. If I've had this policy for years, it's rarely ever occurred that it ever needed to come up. And I've never really stated it because it hasn't been an issue. But if anyone associated with a video that I do a reaction to or a commentary on, if they would email me and say, hey, could you take that video down? I'd appreciate it. I'd take it down, because these things aren't sacred to me. They're not the end of the world to me one way or the other. I don't monetize them, so it's not like I'm taking some kind of financial hit. I just don't understand why people wouldn't be more civil about such things and just say, hey, I'd appreciate if you take that down. Or I didn't like what you said and it's really bugging me and I appreciate you take it down. I wouldn't care. It means that little to me. I just take it down. But now, because of this, got to go all through all the rigmarole, and now I have a strike on my channel, and it's not debilitating. No, what's the word I'm looking for? Debilitating. That's the word I was looking for. My brain went into the same section of the dictionary and just came up with the wrong word. It's not debilitating to my channel, thankfully, but it sets off that anxiety demon in my stomach, and it just won't let go. And it hasn't been letting go the last 3 or so days. So my sleep has been terrible. I'm only now coming down off of it for the most part, trying to turn my brain off, trying to make my stomach not do butterflies. Also, hello, Emperor W.R. Costin, my only audience member at present. I'm surprised you are still paying attention to anything alerting from this channel, but I suppose we'll see if anybody else, any of the old timers, any of the veterans. Yeah, I'm just taking a few minutes while I wait for some food to be delivered to vent a little bit and muse on some things. But yeah, the stress over this video deal, little known fact, and I think I might have mentioned this offhandedly in the past, prior to all the current hubbub. I've been really struggling with what I want to do. Well, in life in general, but at least specifically with my YouTube channel, because truth be told, I felt a little stagnant of late. The TED Excellence thing I kind of started because, well, lockdown, boredom, needing something to do to keep my mind occupied. And it just became a habit. And obviously people enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. But it started to feel a little stale. And I don't mean like I don't appreciate the popularity of it amongst my audience, that I don't and still enjoy it. But YouTube has always, to me at least, been meant to be two things. First, an opportunity in which to express myself in ways that felt more stifling. Let's say back in 2016, when the only platform I had to talk to anybody elsewise was like Facebook, which turned into an absolute nightmare for different reasons. But also to give myself an opportunity to be creative in a way that I hadn't been before. Prior to my first video on YouTube, I'd never made a video before. And it shows. That first video, it certainly shows. But in recent times, at least, while it's no small task, I don't think, to put on an entertaining and engaging live show. I know from my own experience and being on other shows and things, some people have a knack for keeping the audience engaged and having things go in a way that is interesting. And some people, struggle or need more practice, or maybe it's just not in them. I don't know. So I'm not going to downplay or diss live streams as like cheap entertainment or simple to put on successfully. I don't think that's the case at all. But they don't require of me a whole lot of heavy lifting as far as stretching my imagination or being creative. It has helped, I think, in increasing my ability to think on my feet. That's something that I've always struggled with in life. The situations where you disengage from a conversation, or you had an argument with somebody or whatever. And then 10 minutes later, after you've walked away and the whole moment has passed, you think to yourself, I should have said this, or I should have said that, and it just drives you nuts. Thankfully, for the most part, I'm having less of those lately, at least as far as when it comes to doing live streams and interviews and things. I rarely look back and say, I should have asked this, or I should have said that. Or, the speaker said this thing and this is the joke I should have made. Sometimes that happens, not as much, or I haven't noticed it as much. So also sort of public speaking in general, or, being exposed to a live audience, that's something that was always a challenge for me that I've gotten better at. I don't know if I'm all that much better, but the proof is in the pudding, and I'm my worst witness, so it'd be up to the audience to tell me. But that all being said, yeah, live streams, depending on, obviously, each one is its own monster, but generally speaking, there's not a whole lot of effort that's needed on my part to, script, obviously, or edit, or to come up with a narrative or whatever. And I tried doing that with my true crime videos. Those were the first real attempts I made at trying to do narrative content, because everything prior to that, for the most part, was reaction, commentary, analysis, let's call it that. And I've mentioned this on other streams before. Those three videos, I think of everything else I've done on my channel, I'm probably the most proud of those three as standalone pieces of content that I produced all on my lonesome. There are streams that I'm very proud of that I can't take 100% credit for, obviously, because some other piece of media is being played there. Like the TEDx shows themselves are sort of like my co-pilot on each episode. The interview shows, obviously, I have guests that contribute, but things that I generated of my own volition and out of whole cloth, those three videos in particular, I'm most proud of. Emperor W.R. Costin, I can actually pull this up here because I have, skills. I empathize with what you're saying. Yeah, I think a lot of creative people, if you don't find an avenue to express yourself, if to employ your imagination, to leverage that part of you, something doesn't feel quite right. Something feels incomplete. And I've experienced that a lot of times in my life. But most pointedly, probably in the last year or two, let's say, when I've sort of been, after Lords of the Night, out on my own, trying to find a way to express myself, to find something to do creatively. But I'm terrible at self-generation most of the time. I need something to sort of like kickstart my gears. So like Lords of the Night, I got the most creative output I did out of that in the thumbnails of all things. Like once I decided I'm going to start making custom thumbnails for Lords of the Night streams that I'm hosting, well, then I had an incentive to employ my imagination and to stretch my Photoshop skills, as basic as they are, to try to do something creative. And so at least twice a week or so, I would have at least one creative outlet in a medium that I'm not really that practiced in. But each one of those thumbnails that I came up with, I was always very proud of because, well, I made that happen. I came up with that on my own volition. I had to think of some, IP out there, some kind of pop culture thing to insert our avatars into. And so finding those instances where my imagination and my creativity is kickstarted are always very satisfying. But the problem is, again, it seems like I need some kind of outside influence to poke me into doing something. And this occurred just the other day in such dramatic fashion. And it really started to get me thinking. This is like a week ago now. So this is before the whole copyright thing on the TEDx stream. On my Discord channel, I actually have a Discord channel now. I forget who it was, and I can probably look back and find it, but somebody on there was talking about anime, a genre that I have very, very little experience in. I can name like a handful of anime series that I've watched in my lifetime, but I would not call myself an anime fan per se. Not that I hate anime, I just never really got into it. And I wouldn't call myself an aficionado of any stripe when it comes to anime, its styles, its stories, anything like that. But anyway, so somebody on the Discord said something to the effect of, let's see what Scribe does with this. An isekai anime. And I know what isekai means. I learned that at least. Somebody traveling to another world. An isekai anime where monsters appear at dead-end streets. Like that was the seed, right? And again, I'm not an anime fan. But without any further prompting, with that little bit, they said, what can they do with this? I said, well, obviously then in that world, road construction workers would be the heroes of the world. And since the government, obviously, because their government can't cover every dead-end street on the planet, it's going to be up to the local citizens to start dealing with these problems on their own for a lot of the time, because the government's not going to help them. So you're going to have these roving, competing gangs of mobile construction repair teams going out and having to stave off the monster while everybody else finishes the road, so there are no dead-end streets. And obviously the series would have to be called Asphalt. And that all came out of me in like a minute, right? Like I read that thing, I thought about it for 10 seconds, and suddenly I was typing half a paragraph of a summary of an anime series and the framing of the heroes and starting to world build. I mean, and it drove me nuts. And here's why it drove me nuts, is because for me, it's just that simple. Something that I don't think about anime plot lines. I don't think about, that kind of stuff. But somebody just tosses me the tiniest seed. And then the gears start turning and I start producing stuff. And even if it's nonsense, even if it doesn't go anywhere, just the simple act of creation, right? The simple act of leveraging your imagination in ways you wouldn't have thought prior to that one little nudge. It is the most satisfying sensation next to, say, maybe really good sex or something, at least as far as my perspective is concerned. And again, this happened like a week and a half ago or whatever, long before my current anxiety-ridden bucket of water from the TEDx and copyright thing. And so it showed me something. It reminded me that I still have that in me. I mean, when you know how you don't flex a muscle for a while, it atrophies. Right? It's like astronauts go up into space and they're weightless. They don't have to exert that much energy in order to move around. Their muscles atrophy. It keeps feeling like that creative muscle has atrophied. Like I'm not doing anything with it so often lately that part of me feels like it's dying or dead or just absent. But then one little reminder comes along to tell me, no, it's not dead. It's just not being employed. And so that moment and moments prior, obviously, I've been thinking, okay, well, what do you want to do? Huh? What do you want to do? You think you're fairly sure you have the ability to actually create something, to actually leverage your imagination when the opportunity presents itself. So what am I going to do with it? I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. Do I have any ideas? Maybe. I mean, there's a couple of true crime stories that I set aside that I thought maybe I'd do videos on. But every time I think about it, man, and this is something I'm going to bring up at the Living on Borrowed Crime interviews I do this weekend, is just the enormity of the task of research and narrative and crafting and scripting and everything else. I'm constantly bowled over that people are able to make, churn out relatively quality videos onto a YouTube channel on a regular basis and make it worthwhile. Because I just think about what it took to make the 3 that I did. It's just like, man. And usually I always have to assume they have to have people behind them, right? They have to have a team, a producer, an editor or something, right? But in almost every case that I've talked to a true crime guy, it's just them in their living room, or them in their bedroom or whatever, just by themselves. They've got no producers. They've got no team. They've got no professional studio or anything. They're just doing it their own way, which just, again, bowls me over. But anyway, I didn't have anything else I didn't really muse about. I haven't come to any decisions on anything. I've learned at least one thing over the course of my lifetime. The worst time to make any drastic decisions about what you're going to do or what you might say is not when you are having an irrational anxiety episode. Certainly not. And these are just things that have been on my mind before the last couple of days, but I guess maybe just galvanized or enhanced by the last couple of days. Hey, Shady Grin. Hey, Scribbles Housewife. Last couple of days, anxiety attacks and things like that, but doing better now. Hopefully it'll continue to fade. And sorry for anybody who's just showing up now or anything. I was just killing some time before some food I ordered shows up. So that's all this was, and doing it on my alternate channel because I didn't figure anybody pays attention to this, and it had nothing to do with anything on my main channel, at least not directly. Emperor W.R. Costin acknowledges the existence of Shady Grin. Well, that's good. That's good. So Shady Grin, if you needed acknowledgement from another source in order to ensure that you still exist, there you go. But anyway, guys, those of you that either see this now or in the future, what? Hold on. There's the message lag between what I see on the YouTube thing and what shows up on StreamYard is you can afford food delivery, living large. I know. I was splurging. I took a half day from work and I decided, hey, I'll not try to cook or like hike out to the grocery store or something. So, yep. But anyway, that's it. Looking forward to the stream tonight. Hopefully that'll have some more catharsis and relaxation and entertainment. And then really looking forward to this weekend with the true crime deal. So anyway, people who are here live, hi. Thanks for showing up. People who find this in the future, sorry you missed it, I guess. I don't know if you missed anything exciting. I'm just sort of venting. And otherwise, everybody, hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope you're all safe and well. And if you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. And click.